Rolls-Royce Wraith Mansory Wreck Rebuild $1.2 million luxury restoration full RR to BMW part swap. Section 2. Video description and hashtags. This is the ultimate luxury rebuild saga. Matt Armstrong, known for his expertise in high-performance sports car repair, undertakes a project of unprecedented scale and cost, resurrecting one of the world's most exclusive luxury coupes, a 2023 Rolls-Royce Wraith. But this is no ordinary Wraith. It's a highly customized, ultra-rare edition from the renowned German tuner Mansory. Purchasing a modified Mansory vehicle is inherently an irrational financial decision, but attempting to rebuild a completely wrecked one, that borders on madness. The sheer cost and currency exchange rates detailed throughout this video might be staggering for the average viewer, yet the exquisite engineering and beauty of this model warrant every moment of your attention. Before we proceed, ensure you are subscribed to our channel. Let's begin. The new Wraith is undeniably a stunning automobile. It represents the youthful, more dynamic side of the Rolls-Royce lineup, a two-door coupe yet surprisingly accommodating with 4 seats. Under the elongated bonnet lies the monstrous engine shared across the company's luxury portfolio, a 6.6-liter twin-turbo V12 engine. This powerhouse generates a formidable 624 horsepower and 800-plus newton-meters of torque. As is tradition, the engine and entire drivetrain assembly are derived from BMW. Matt purchased the car online via an auction for a princely sum of £184,000. Its first owner, none other than the English football star Marcus Rashford of Manchester United, who reportedly paid around $900,000 for the vehicle new. Rolls-Royce vehicles are already exceptionally expensive, but Mansory's modifications often double the price tag. The car had traveled a mere 1,500 miles before a severe accident. An elderly driver in her 70s cutting across traffic at night. It is, quite literally, a crash-zero car. The first task, collecting the vehicle from the storage yard. A quick inspection reveals damage from every conceivable angle. Even the bespoke Rolls-Royce umbrella is missing. The rear wheel is gone, and the split rim alloy is cleaved in two. Using a forklift, the damaged coupe is loaded onto a flatbed recovery truck. The Wraith's stance is imposing, even in this state. The extensive damage to both the rear and front sections promises a repair nightmare. The Mansory hallmark is carbon fiber, and much of the custom bodywork is bespoke carbon construction. Matt receives the broken body panels from England, Rolls-Royce's home turf, where salvage laws are often strict. He had attempted a Rolls-Royce repair previously, but it ended in failure. Vehicles that the official Rolls-Royce dealership refuses to repair fall under a specific salvage classification, often Category B, break. While all salvageable parts can be sold, the chassis must be destroyed, as it is deemed structurally unfit for the road. The result? These versions are strictly prohibited from ever being driven on public roads again, and purchasing one requires a specific dealer license that Matt does not possess. This classification can be applied even if the car is technically repairable, and it typically affects ultra-high-value vehicles, especially heavily modified ones like a Mansory Edition. However, the insurance company's classification on this specific Mansory model was unclassified, meaning it was not branded as scrap. This allowed the insurer to offer it at a much higher price at auction, as it was not bound by the Category B restrictions. Let's take a closer look at the damage. The bumper is missing, as is the front left fender. The front suspension is demolished, and there is a significant impact on the rear quarter panel. The rear wheel is absent, the suspension is visibly destroyed, and there is clear damage to the structural shell. Matt's first observation upon entering the car is a completely slack brake pedal. His first priority is to assess the engine's health. He heads to the battery located in the trunk. Since Rolls-Royce is owned by BMW, the systems are remarkably similar. He checks the primary cutoff that is designed to disconnect the battery immediately after a collision, preventing an electrical fire. If tripped, the car will not start. He finds the fuse intact and the interior lights working. An initial attempt to start the engine fails. He connects an external charger and tries again. The V12 makes a faint, audible churn, suspecting the starter motor. He connects the diagnostic tool, no useful fault codes appear, only those related to airbags and safety systems. A more powerful charger is attached, but the result is the same: no start. The auction listing had explicitly stated that the engine was in good running condition. He lifts the front of the car and manually rotates the engine pulley to confirm the crankshaft is not seized. He notes the bent control arms underneath. The engine spins freely, but what good is that if it won't fire? He calls a friend for advice. There's a relay located in the trunk that cuts the power circuit if the battery voltage is too low. The electrical circuit can be re-engaged by placing a magnet on the relay housing. He tries again. The situation is bewildering. Everything seems correct, but nothing works. He connects two external chargers simultaneously, one to the main body terminals and one directly to the battery terminals, but still no life. A desperate attempt with a jump pack fails as well. He proceeds to check the fuses in the engine bay. The fuse detector offers no answers. He calls the auction house, querying the running engine claim and requesting contact with the person who managed to start it last. The contact doesn't materialize. Before and after the battery terminal fuse, the voltages are perfect. He asks his father to try, hoping for better luck, but it's the same simple rotation sound. He tries pressing the brake pedal while starting, but there is no pedal pressure. He notices a severed brake fluid line. He quickly seals the cut line to restore pressure. This brake and start sequence is a known quirk of high-performance BMW-derived engines. Finally, the engine roars to life. He performs the famous coin balance test on the running V12. Even after the crash, the engine's refinement keeps the coin perfectly steady. Although the low brake pressure delayed the start, it wasn't the main issue. Because the V12 subsequently refuses to start again after being switched off, Matt grows completely disheartened. He removes the broken suspension components from the damaged wheel arch. He attaches workshop dolly wheels to square plates fixed to each wheel hub. These are standard tools in tight garages for maneuvering non-operational vehicles. The 2.5-ton Wraith is slowly dragged into the workshop entrance. It's then secured onto the hydraulic lifts. Matt immediately notices the absence of any under trays or covers. The subframe is severely impacted, and the modified Mansory exhaust pipes are crushed flat. The fuel tank has a large crack. The aluminum suspension arms are utterly destroyed. The rear subframe is bent, and a driveshaft coupling, Gaibo, is completely missing from the rear. An air reservoir for the air suspension system is visible. The damaged air suspension components are relatively easy to replace, albeit at high cost. Two much larger problems remain: the bespoke Mansory carbon fiber bodywork and the potential for a structurally compromised chassis. The main difficulty with vehicles like this is the lack of available used parts. Ordering new parts directly from Mansory is a financial catastrophe due to the price and the associated wait times. When Matt contacted Mansory about the parts, they informed him that they do not stock components for this model. A special order would require a 1 to 2 month wait. Carbon fiber trim and decor pieces are ludicrously expensive. A small trim frame is $2,000, the logo $1,300, and the carbon side cells are $3,000. Even the floor mats cost a fortune. This is the essence of Mansory tuning. It's utterly irrational. He removes the inner fender liner. The body shell is weirdly warped. While Rolls-Royce parts are fundamentally BMW, you cannot simply cross-reference a Rolls-Royce part code and order it from a BMW dealer. He tries an experiment anyway, ordering a fender from a BMW 8 Series for $400. The design is almost the same, but with subtle differences. He is dissatisfied, confirming that bespoke Rolls-Royce parts are mandatory. Purchasing every piece brand new from a dealer would be ruinously expensive, and finding individual used parts would take an age. Matt considers a radical solution: buying a second, complete Rolls-Royce Wraith. Older pre-facelift versions of the Wraith have dropped significantly in price for a Rolls-Royce, costing around $100,000. This approach solves one problem by creating another. Rashford, the previous owner, contacts Matt and reveals the secret behind the V12's starting failure. The car is equipped with a custom high-tech ghost immobilizer system,
an electronic anti-theft sequence of button presses required before startup. Without the code, the key is useless. Matt performs the sequence off camera and presses the start button. Success! Now the demolition begins. He removes the crushed exhaust system, which the entire back box assembly is likely worth over $20,000. He removes the heat shield, which is surprisingly intact underneath. The drive shaft is disconnected and the differential unit is dropped. The fuel tank is one unit but split into two halves, with the left side clearly dented. He unbolts the wheels and all the rear electrical wiring. He then removes the hydraulic lines for the anti-roll bar. This is a bizarre detail, a system developed by BMW for the 7 Series called active roll stabilization. It uses hydraulic oil pressure to actively connect the front and rear anti-roll bars, creating the car's famous floating on air ride quality. He begins unbolting the subframe mounting points, which are clearly bent. The frame is dropped, and Matt takes chassis measurements. He places a measurement bar diagonally across the chassis points. The length between the two marked points is exactly 89.5 centimeters. The other side aligns perfectly without adjustment. This is excellent news. The rear chassis is not bent. He lowers the car and removes the engine, separating it from the exhaust manifolds. There's damage to the trunk lock mechanism, preventing it from closing. He strips the trunk interior, revealing a complex network of wires and modules. The inner structure shows clear damage. This area is a complex structure of interlocked metal sections, meaning any dented part must be replaced. He will have to source these specific pieces from the official Rolls-Royce supplier. He calls the UK dealership to inquire about a rear quarter panel for the Wraith. The price, £8,500, an incredibly expensive piece of metal for that area.
Next, he makes a journey to Manchester to collect some missing parts from Rashford's team, though the front bumper is not among them. The parts he receives save him substantial time and money, likely valued around $100,000 in total. He then buys the correct front bumper from a Facebook marketplace listing for £3,000, a very high price, but a fraction of the Mansory cost, and it even comes with some of the parking sensor wiring. He starts removing the fuel tank, taking off the support screws and disconnecting the fuel pump wiring plug before lowering it. The next step is removing the front subframe. He removes the wheel, revealing hidden structural damage. The brake caliper is removed, followed by the upper control arm and the brake disc. He then unbolts the steering column from the steering rack. The entire weight of the engine rests on this subframe, and it is proving reluctant to move. He unbolts two fasteners connecting the subframe to the engine itself from below. He lowers the car completely. From above, he installs a steel bar with multiple hooks. The challenge is anchoring this bar onto the fragile inner fender. He pads the area and secures the chains to the engine lift points. The car is raised again, lifting the entire body away from the subframe mounting bolts. He lowers the subframe to the ground. The engine mounts are completely destroyed. They are the expensive, oil-filled hydraulic type, and the housing is fractured. He inspects the remaining parts attached to the frame. The steering rack looks intact. The entire suspension on the impact side is ruined. The more parts he removes, the more he considers the nuclear option, buying the second complete Rolls-Royce. Without hesitation, he executes this costly decision. He purchases a 2015 Wraith model for £97,000. It has 40,000 kilometers on the clock and is in excellent condition. This rebuild has officially driven him mad. Who buys a perfectly good car just to strip it for parts for a wrecked one, unless it's for content? He examines the new car's underside. The suspension is perfect, though not all parts are 100% interchangeable. The exterior body panels are aluminum, unlike the Mansory's carbon fiber. The demolition of the pristine Rolls-Royce begins, starting with the front and rear subframes. The parts from the low-mileage Mansory car will be prioritized. He lifts the chassis with its attached suspension and cleans all the components thoroughly. He removes the front air springs, shocks, unbolting the top mounts. The air is completely discharged. As stated, this is an air suspension system, where the spring is replaced by an airbag, complete with compressor, air reservoir, sensors, and control valves. The main objective is comfort, which is why it's absent in high-performance sports models.
He removes the broken engine mount in its carrier from the wrecked car and installs the undamaged one from the donor car. He transfers all the hydraulic lines using the undamaged Mansory lines. The car is lowered and the subframe is positioned for mounting. All the bolts are secured. The subframe's smooth reinstallation is a perfect confirmation of the chassis straightness. Even a slight deviation of millimeters would prevent the bolts from aligning. He fits the bolts securing the frame to the engine and installs the sway bar, connecting all its hydraulic lines. The steering column is bolted to the rack from below. The engine support bar is removed. Next, the suspension. He raises the air spring into position and connects it to the control arm with the bolt from below. The brake disc and caliper are fitted. However, he notices a gap between the caliper and the hub. The design is not 100% identical. He swaps back to the older model's disc and it fits perfectly. Then he secures the top mount of the shock. He strips the front end of the good car, which is a black badge, the more powerful and exclusive version. The bumper is removed. He chooses a few select components. He drains the coolant and removes the plastic housing containing the oil cooler. The lights and the rear support bracket are removed. He takes the intact steel crash bar and returns to the Mansory version, installing all the good components. The horns are replaced and the light carrier is swapped. The small lower cooler is installed. He connects the water hoses to the external reservoir, which is strangely located beneath the fender. This section is complete, but the rear frame remains.
He begins with the fuel tank. He removes the tank from the donor car. He wanted to swap the Mansory fuel pump, but it risked breaking during installation, so he left the old pump in place. The plugs are connected, the screws secured, and the fuel lines and the two tank holders are bolted in. The rear shock absorber is bent and must be replaced. The mounting bolts are hidden. The rear seats are removed. He finds no special interior mounting points. He removes the center trim piece, revealing two bolts. He unbolts the two rear seats which pivot forward and pulls them out through the window. The side headliner cover is removed. He removes the rear parcel shelf and the inner door trim. All rear wiring is disconnected and the foam insulation layer is removed. The shock is pulled out from the exterior. These steps are repeated on the donor car. The rear shock is massive. The most critical step is raising the rear subframe. He removes the differential from the good frame and transfers the low-mileage one from the Mansory version. He lowers the car and sets the subframe on its four mounts. The gigantic sway bar is put back in place. He uses the practically new differential and connects the drive shaft. He unscrews the filler plug for the differential, adds oil from below, and secures the cap nut. Next, fluids. He opens the brake fluid reservoir cap and connects a pressure pump. One hose connects to the reservoir cap and the other to a tire valve, using a small amount of air pressure to pressurize the brake lines. He bleeds the brakes from the rear to the front. The cap is sealed and the pressure on the brake pedal is checked. He attempts an electronic bleed, repeatedly pressing the pedal. He needs to activate the ABS unit to force out all the air from the circuit. First, he fills the engine coolant. He opens the tank cap and pressurizes the circuit for a few minutes. No leaks. He connects a hose filled with coolant and fills the radiators for the turbo air coolers. Then, the hydraulic fluid for the steering rack and the sway bars. He gets in and starts the engine. He tops up the hydraulic fluid and the brake pedal pressure improves but remains weak. Despite the brakes not being at full power, he takes the car for a short test drive outside the garage. He moves with extreme caution. The air suspension begins to lift the car. He removes the broken door. He strips the interior panel, removes all the wires, including the plug for the power-assisted door mechanism, and unbolts the two hinges, carrying the massive coupe door away. The car is back on the road. 90% of the mechanical work is complete. The V12 is very much alive. He returns to the garage to begin the bodywork. The front structure was severely damaged. He first unbolts the light carrier from the main structure and then removes the entire radiator assembly. The wires and plug were removed and the structure is ready to be dismantled. The front components are steel and are welded and riveted to the aluminum parts. The upper section is undamaged and will be retained. He avoids drilling out the aluminum rivets as they are difficult to reinstall. From below, he uses an angle grinder to remove all the spot welds. From above, he drills out the remaining welds and uses a chisel to separate the two layers.
He carefully separates the layers from the side, detaching the structure from the steel crash bar. Using the grinder, he cuts the bottom section and separates the rest from the top. The grinder exposes the rivet locations. He is forced to drill out the rivet heads and heat the area to finally remove the piece. The upper section is good to go. He needs new rivets to join the steel and aluminum, about 10 of them. Ordering from Rolls-Royce would be expensive and slow, so he opts for BMW parts. His father, however, has already bought a set of new rivets. He drills holes in the new steel pieces and sprays primer on the mounting points. The new front section is fitted into place. He applies a layer of specialized automotive adhesive, a cold weld, only on the surface touching the aluminum. He clamps the pieces from the edges and uses the rivet gun to fasten the pieces together. The electric rivet gun is much faster and easier than the manual one he used in the M5 video. The area is strongly secured. He seals all the circular openings with weld material. This takes hours, but the result is superb. He sands the surface smooth, wraps the engine in plastic, and sprays primer on the weld spots. A brush is used to apply a seam sealer to fill the gaps between the panels, mostly on the underside. Finally, the area is painted with the matching color. The front end is a success. He moves to the terrifying rear quarter panel, which is completely warped. He first tries to pull and repair the existing panel. He opens the trunk to see how the other side looks. The area is steel, so pressure can move and straighten it. Slowly, the shape improves. The quarter panel is salvageable, but the very rear section is destroyed. He will only keep what he can straighten. He closes the hood, relieved that the bolts align perfectly. The Mansory mesh grille is intact and is installed. The grille is screwed into place from the inside. He connects the plugs for the wires. The illuminated Mansory grille looks incredible, a signature touch not found on the standard Wraith, though Ghost and Spectre have an illuminated option. He reinstalls the motorized mechanism for the Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament. The carbon fiber upper cover doesn't sit flush. He removes the grille again and fetches the missing headlight. The massive headlight is $3,000 alone, but it doesn't fit the new carrier. Mansory used a modified light carrier. He measures both, there's a slight difference in length. He reinstalls the modified carrier after straightening the dents and tests the full lighting system. The front bumper with all its wiring and parking sensors is installed and screwed into place. The front end is now returning to its state of absolute luxury. The carbon fiber cover is refitted and the Flying Lady returns to her perch. The sheer amount of carbon fiber, combined with the distinctive lighting, gives the car a unique, aggressive look. The next step is the door, but first, the brakes. Rolls-Royce informed him that all he needed was a minimum of 2 bar pressure in the circuit. He pressurizes a tire to 50 psi and uses that pressure to push the brake fluid lines. He bleeds the brakes again, waiting for all the air to escape. After a long wait, the air rushes out. He bleeds all 4 wheels. Finally, the pedal is firm. All that was needed was high pressure. He installs the wheels and rolls the car forward. He addresses the deployed airbags. He removes the side roofliner cover and the rear curtain, which extends behind the seat. He reuses the airbag from the donor car and snaps the roof cover back into place. He removes the seat backrest to access the side airbag. He unbolts the metal airbag bracket and disconnects all clips. The airbag is secured with 2 10mm bolts. He uses the intact airbag from the donor car and reinstalls it. The side curtain airbag is also good and is put back. The seat backrest is closed. Now, the door. He hangs the good door on its hinges. The coupe door weighs 100 kilograms. He bolts the hinges and it aligns perfectly as if it were the original. He takes it for a test drive, but the brakes completely fail. He attempts a second brake bleed attempt, this time using a computer to reprogram the ABS module, forcing all valves to open and release the air. He repeats the bleeding process, and for the second time, the pedal is solid. He removes the foam insulation from the rear fender and unbolts the new and original trunk hinges for painting. He sprays multiple coats of gray and reinstalls them, followed by the trunk lid. He replaces the foam insulation from the donor car and puts the plastic cover back. The Mansory interior trim is put back in the rear area. The entire rear interior, worth up to $50,000, is reassembled. The interior is 100% complete except for the new door panel. The electrical connections are secured and the metal pieces are snapped into place. He applies adhesive gel to glue the rear window back in place using the original undamaged glass from the wrecked car. He lifts the car and removes the smashed rear crash bar. Beneath it, the air reservoir for the suspension is also dented and is removed. He has now purchased all the original Mansory parts. He starts with the new carbon fiber fender. He removes the door handle from the donor car, screws the base in place, and mounts the carbon fiber fender. He bolts it to the car in the front. A viewer sent him the original Rolls-Royce umbrella, which was missing. He installs the $9,000 carbon fiber side sills, an unbelievable price. He aligns the area with the front opening and installs the lock striker. He moves to the rear. He bought a new diffuser with Formula One style fog lights. The new bumper is $9,500. The prices are truly nonsensical. The bumper arrives without body bolt holes, so he drills new mounting points and installs the metal grommets. He applies an adhesive for the diffuser and screws it in place. Finally, the bumper is installed. He takes the car out for an air change. He bought new metal panels that are part of the trunk's inner structure. He removes the sealant with a rotary brush and cuts the weld lines with the angle grinder. The inner box is also held by welds, so he cuts the outer layer to access the inside and removes the completely destroyed piece. He visits a body shop to check the chassis. They inspect the structure and find that the area behind the impact has hidden support layers, making it unstable to simply pull the body back out. After all that effort, he needs a new rear quarter panel skin. The fender on this car is enormous. It costs $9,000 from the factory. His fellow YouTuber, Tavarish, buys the donor car Matt used for parts and another wrecked Rolls-Royce without an engine to start his own project. A third Wraith is now in the picture. The alternative plan is to cut off the rear quarter panel from the donor car. This is a difficult, time-consuming operation with a high risk of error, but he has no other choice. In a full day, he separates the quarter panel from the rest of the car. Since the donor car was already damaged, the precision isn't critical. The real challenge is cutting the good car structure. He cuts piece by piece, starting a large opening with a drill. With a saw, he cuts the line to the end, then vertically and along the door frame. The interior has foam filling. He pulls the steel body layer out and uses a chisel to fold the metal and saw the rest of the fender layer from below. The steel is folded and the body is pulled away, revealing the inner structure. The rear quarter panel design is unique because it is not connected to the roof. He removes all the damaged inner layers and fits the cut quarter panel into place. Unfortunately, the quarter panel cannot be fitted as a single piece. He must separate all the welded sections. With the drill, he bores out all the spot welds. Hours of continuous work. The parts must be removed intact. He removes the shock absorber and the damaged wheel arch perimeter. He removes the sealant, drills out the sill welds and the rivets underneath. He separates the layers, removing the section from the entire inner structure. The car is severely dismantled. You can see the chassis rail. He brings the new quarter panel for sizing. The journey to weld the entire section begins, including the internal welds. He welds the join between the structure and the car, grinds and smooths the weld layer, and flattens the area. This step requires a professional. All that remains is the door lip weld. He uses a special welding machine for the car, working along the entire frame boundary. The new quarter panel is finally installed. There is one more dent near the A-pillar. He removes the paint, welds small metal rings onto the body, and uses a puller with hooks to slowly bring the area back to its original position, repeating the process several times. He then uses a stud welder, applying a small weight to a tip that welds a tiny dot. He moves the tool over the entire surface, then smooths the metal with the angle grinder. The dent vanishes. Instead of using body filler, he covers all the weld areas with lead solder, an old technique favored by Rolls-Royce for a clean, imperceptible finish. The structure is now immaculate. He raises the shock absorber and secures it from below. He checks the wheel alignment and lowers the car. He completely reassembles the interior, starting with the iconic Starlight headliner in the front. The control buttons are installed. All the pillar covers are snapped into place. The rear seats are reinstalled and the door panel is fitted. Everything is back in place as the long journey nears an end. The Mansory cargo area carpet is fitted, but there is a persistent problem with the trunk lock. The piece above the latch is slightly too high. He unbolts it completely, adjusts the lock base, and it closes perfectly. He notices the airbag light is still on when the engine starts. He tries to clear the code with the computer, but it persists. The headrest is deployed forward, a rare safety feature that moves the headrest closer to the driver's head during a collision. This part is connected by a wire. He removes the headrest from the donor car, removes the covers, and does the same on the Mansory car. He disconnects the plug and removes the headrest. The parts are identical. He also swaps parts from the donor car's seatbelt mechanism, a mechanical device that tightens the belt during a crash. He installs the new $11,000 plus carbon fiber mirrors. He applies the mounting adhesive for the small mesh grille, one of Mansory's false vents. He glues all the pieces together. The car's wheelbase is 3.1 meters, so the side sills are enormous. He uses special Mansory adhesive and clamps the pieces in place. The carbon fiber sill cover is secured and the umbrella frame is closed. The entire entry point is complete. He moves under the car to address the destroyed exhaust system. Buying a full Mansory exhaust was rejected due to the $15,000 plus price tag. He installs an aftermarket stainless steel system from the UK company Quicksilver, featuring a different, performance-oriented X-pipe path. He installs the muffler box, first the plastic side trims, then the heat shield inside. He raises the boxes and connects them to the pipes, securing the hangers and the metal center strap. He bolts the plastic frame and reinstalls the steel crash bar. Finally, the exhaust tips frame is installed. The exhaust valve is closed from below. He installs an external control unit for the valve, wiring it to the fuse box. He can now control the sound via his phone. The sound transforms dramatically when the valve opens. Don't forget, this is a V12. He connects the final bumper, linking the parking sensor plugs, and installs it for the final time. Several electronic modules were taken from the donor car. He reprograms these to be compatible with the Mansory computer. He takes the prepared car for a drive outside. The famous Starlight headliner looks incredible. After this final step, the moving English castle is back on the road. He celebrates by driving the car to the Navarra circuit in Spain. The car is fast, stable, and so quiet that the speed is barely noticeable. This car is not built for racing. The air suspension loses pressure due to a minor sensor issue. He recalibrates the suspension sensors and successfully resolves the issue. He washes the car and drives 1,000 kilometers to Monaco, the most insane place in the car world, for a weekend break. He installs a suction cup roof rack capable of holding 50 kilograms. He drives to the famous Stelvio Ass in Italy, a winding masterpiece of natural engineering, and camps there for a night. His tent is on the roof of the Rolls-Royce, enjoying peak luxury after the monumental rebuild. The final stop is Germany, to the Mansory headquarters to meet the big boss, Koresh Mansory, the founder of the world's most notorious tuning company. Matt shows him the complete repair. The meeting is strange. Mansory is both impressed and amused by the details. He tells Matt that he is now an unofficial part of the Mansory family. He adds a few final touches, the painted stripe along the car, the Mansory name decal on the side, and the final carbon fiber trim pieces. Matt Armstrong's incredible journey with this car is complete. The total cost exceeded £300,000 and the repair took over 6 months. What do you think of this epic rebuild? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let us know what car you'd like to see him work on next. Peace.